Do you want to lose weight but struggle to stay committed to a meal plan because you constantly feel hungry? Does food provide you with comfort when you are bored, angry, lonely, or sad? If so, you are in the right place. My name is Kristen Jones, and I'm a life coach specializing in emotional eating and weight loss, and I'm also a lifelong emotional eater. I want to provide you with information, motivation, and support so you too can learn to manage your issues with food and develop a healthy relationship with yourself. Welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. Well, welcome back to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and could not be happier that you have chosen to join me today. Today's episode is going to be 3 things you must stop thinking in order to lose weight. So in today's episode, you're going to learn how it is so simple for you to dictate how you want to feel and what results you want to get in your life. And I am going to show you exactly how that is done. I'm also going to talk to you about how being present in your life and in moments in your day is a key to losing weight. Also, how your feelings drive your actions, and those actions get you results. And in this case, we're going to talk about how those actions are related to your choices in food and how your feelings connect to those choices and connect to those actions. And the last thing is we're going to talk about the only real relationship that you really ever need to worry about. And I want you to stick around to the end, because what I'm going to give you at the end is I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to think in order to banish and get rid of these and start to get the process of getting rid of these negative emotions and these negative feelings, that they're thoughts that you're having. So I am coming to you live today from the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook. And if you aren't a member and you're listening to this on the podcast, I'd love to see you become a part of our community. So you can go to www.facebook.com/groups/food-breakthrough and come and be a part of our community. It is filled with so many amazing individuals who are supporting, encouraging, and inspiring each other as we all come to try and understand our relationship with food and how emotional eating impacts us on a day-to-day basis and how it impacts our ability to be able to lose weight. So again, it's an amazing community and would love to have you there. And also, if you are not a member, I'm going to be doing a training next week starting on Monday, and I'm going to be doing a training on it's called Think Your Way Thin, and it is all about positive thinking and how our thoughts, if we can banish our negative self-talk and we can diminish that, how that is going to help us lose weight. How really, and I've said this before, changing our minds is the first thing we have to do if we want to change our bodies. So that is absolutely a key to weight loss. And so we're going to address that, and we're going to address the most common self-talk errors that people make and how we can correct those. And so I want to just kind of go over for my members in the group, and I have about 30 of you that have completed your survey. If you're interested and you haven't gotten a survey and you're interested in doing the training, please send me a personal message in our group, and I'm happy to share with you the survey. If for some reason you don't fill out the survey and you just want to jump in, the trainings are going to be going on Monday through Friday next week in our Facebook group, and that is that's going to be the 13th through the 17th of July, and they're going to be taking place. The lives are going to be taking place in the morning, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. early, 7 a.m. on the Pacific Standard Time, where I am in California. And so that'll be, again, for my East Coast peeps. I have a lot of East Coast people. And so you're going to be about 10 o'clock in the morning. If you're not able to make it live, that's okay. It's going to be on replay. You'll be able to see it the rest of the week. And I'm just going to give you a little assignment, do a little bit of, tell you a little bit about the thought process we're going to be talking about. And then I'm going to give you little homework assignments during the day, things for you to do throughout the day that are going to help you really look at and realize the self-talk that you're doing and how that's impacting you. It's going to be absolutely guilt-free. We're not going to make ourselves feel bad. We're just going to move forward and try to make the best possible decisions and choices that we can make from that point on. So it's going to be a really, really great, really insightful week. And I know that it's going to help many of you, help most of you. It should help all of you be able to head down the path of making the best decisions for yourself when it comes to your weight loss. So I want to do, as if you've been on the podcast before, you know I always do a member shout out, and I want to do a member shout out to, and I hope I say your last name right, to my girl April Leichner. I think it's how you say her name. And April has been in the group as a member since the beginning of April. And I met her through Dr. Ron Eakers, and many of my members know Dr. Eakers. Dr. Eakers is from Augusta, Georgia, and he's amazing, and he has an amazing Facebook group. And I was lucky enough to be able to go into his group, and I've met a lot of his clients and a lot of the people that know him. And April's one of those people. And she won a free life coaching session from me about 3 months ago. And April is so busy helping other people and always giving. And she's a first grade teacher. God bless her. As a middle school teacher, I know some of you think that's a horrible age. Oh no, for me, those first graders, kindergartners, they scare me to death. So that would definitely be, that would be the group that I would be afraid of. And, but she does amazing work. And it took us 3 months for her to be able to come and see me and have a life coaching session. And April and I talked about some really interesting and amazing things. And April has totally taken what we talked about, and she is making some incredible changes in her life on her own, and is doing some incorporating daily affirmations and gratitude and journaling into her life. And she's impacting other people in the group. She's sharing what she knows in the group and the books and the different things that she's found. And I could not be more proud of her as she's just an amazing human being. One, because she's a first grade teacher, and she's impacting these little lives and just making a huge difference. But also she's impacting people in the group, and she's really showing and leading by example. So April, you know, I love you, girl, and I'm so proud of you. And you just keep on doing what you're doing, and changes are happening. And I can't wait to see where this journey takes you. So again, I'm so proud of you, and thank you so much for being an integral member of the group. So on today's episode, we are going to cover how your thoughts generate your feelings. As I talked about, how your thoughts generate feelings, actions, and results. And that if you want to lose weight, you must understand how these things work together. The other main thing we're going to talk about is the three thoughts that you're having that are stopping you from losing weight. And once you get these under control, you are going to have such a handle and have such a much easier time making the best choices for yourself and being able to see your weight loss journey move in the direction that you want it to. And again, as I said, I want you to stick around to the end, because I'm going to tell you the one statement, the one thing you need to tell yourself when those negative thoughts come up that are going to help banish those thoughts from your mind. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to give a little overview of the beliefs about where our thoughts and our feelings come from. And I know this is a very hard concept for many people to embrace, because I think it's human nature for all of us to want to blame when things happen to us. We want to blame circumstances, and we want to blame things outside of us. And I hate to be the one who has to tell you, but every circumstance, every situation in our lives is completely neutral. The only time that it takes on meaning and that it takes on power is when we give it that power, and we give it that power by the thoughts that we think. And so we can talk about things, you know, and I know sometimes it's really hard to imagine. And I'm going to give you an example of really something horrible happening. And how could you say, like, Kristen, how could that be neutral? Like, how could something like that be neutral? And really it's about the thoughts that we give those things. So the one thing I talk about in the group all the time, thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions give you the results that you have in your life. So if you're not liking the results that you have in your life, you need to backtrack to the thoughts that you're having about whatever the circumstance is, the thoughts that you're having, those are the things you need to look at. And I'm not saying that we all need to have positive thoughts and Pollyanna all the time and everything's just fabulous, all the time. But what we do need to think about, and each one of us needs to take responsibility for the thoughts that each person creates. So it's the thoughts that I create, the thoughts that you create. You think, therefore you feel, and then you take your actions. Every action that we take is generated and is as a result of a feeling. So we have to be careful about what we think. So I'm going to give you an example of this. And this is kind of an extreme example, but I think it's really important to understand this. And this has always been the way that I've thought about this circumstance. So I know I say all circumstances are neutral. And so many of you know, and many of you have heard this story before, and if you have, just indulge me. And if you haven't, then this is the first time. I lost my brother 17 years ago. Actually, the start of his ultimate death started in the month of July, and just a few days ago, actually, 17 years ago. And my brother died, and I remember thinking that was something I was never, ever, ever going to get past, ever. I knew that my brother was very unhappy here on this earth. I knew that there were many things that he loved, and he had a family, he had a son, he had a daughter, he had another son. He loved them. He loved them to death, but he wasn't happy with himself. And there were things that were going on with him, and some issues with addiction, and an issue with alcohol. And when he died, I remember just thinking, like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get past this. And I remember my mom, and I know my mom will listen to this at some point. My mom is a woman of faith, and has always raised her children to be that way. And so I really took the thought that I always had about my brother's death was that it was for his best interest. It was because, and I believe in God, and it was because that God knew what was best for him. And that's been able to get me through the hardest times and the hardest thing to be able to understand, because I could think, oh my gosh, this is so unfair. This is terrible. I'm left here. I see my family being upset, his wife, his son, his daughter, all of that, and how that could be so horrible. But I chose to think the thoughts that he was being saved. He was being given grace, and that he's much happier in heaven. And I know that. And so that always has been something that's really been a comfort for me. And so I've chosen to think what I want to think. Now, some of you are probably like, oh my God, you got to get with reality, girl. And that's okay if you think that way. I'm okay with that. I don't have any problem with that. For me, my life is good, and I'm good, and I'm at a very good place, and I feel very comfortable with my brother not being here, and because of the thoughts that I choose to think about it. So it's absolutely, even something like a death, if you choose to think in a certain way, that's how you're going to choose to think about it, and that's how you can choose to think about it. So that's kind of the cornerstone of this way of thinking, is we have to remember, we have to take responsibility for all of our thoughts. So moving now into the 3 thoughts that you must stop thinking in order to lose weight, and also to just be happy. So the first one, you've got to stop, and it kind of goes along with what I just talked about. You have got to stop living in the past. Okay, that's the first thought. The first thought is you've got to stop rehashing every single time you have gone on a diet and you have failed, or you have gone on a diet and you've been successful, and then darn it, the weight came back on. You can beat yourself up as much as you want, but that is not going to change anything. And the only thing, by reliving that and bringing that up again, the only thing it's going to change is how you're moving forward. Because when you have all of that energy going towards that negative place and bringing that up, for those of you who believe in the law of attraction is what we think of, we attract. So if you want to think about all the times that you've failed at a diet, and all of the times that you've lost weight and been successful and then gained the weight back, that is exactly what you are bringing into your life. So you have to be responsible for that. That is a thought that does not serve you. It doesn't serve you anymore. You've got to let go of those thoughts of this is, this is where I am. This is what's going on. This is how it is. You have to, like that was that's the past. Leave it in the past. All right. Number 2, the second one, you have got to stop being afraid of failure. And in fact, it's kind of like living in the past, but it's also living in the future. It's anticipating, oh, I'm going to fail. I'm so afraid of failing. The issue with failure is not the actual failure. It's the absolute beatdown that you do to yourself when you do fail. That's the problem. We know from failure, we learn from failure. You can come back from failure. You learn from it. It is an opportunity for you to grow and to be strong and to totally, change how things are. But if you want to be afraid of it and you want to then turn around and think, well, if I just beat myself up enough, everything's going to be okay. The next time it won't happen. That is only going to drive you further down that negative path. And when it comes to weight and it comes to your weight loss journey, you've got to stop beating yourself up over those failures of whether it's ending a workout early, whether it's taking a bite of ice cream, whether it's not eating on your meal plan. It happens. It happens, and you gotta let it go, and you can't beat yourself up. You can, but that is just going to cause that spiral and going to cause you to go further and further down that rabbit hole. And soon enough, the plan that you've been on, you have one slip up, one thing, and all of a sudden, boop, forget it. I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. And then you're right back where you started from. So if you're afraid of failure and you don't want to start, or you're afraid of failure and you think that just beating yourself up is the right way to do it, that's not the right way to do it. You've got to be kind to yourself, and you've got to give yourself that grace, because when changes really happen when we aren't successful. The big movement and the big changes that occur inside of us happen when things aren't going smoothly. And that's what we need to focus on, and focus on giving ourselves that grace and being kind to ourselves and letting ourselves be human, really. And then the last one, the third one, we have to stop regrets. We have to stop regretting actions, thoughts, words, things we eat. Have to, because that regret is what keeps us spinning in our heads, and it keeps those negative thoughts going. So whether or not and tell me this, think about your day and think about you're in a meeting and you say something at work and you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Oh man. And you are on your own case the rest of the day, anxious, nervous, disappointment, shame, embarrassment, humiliation. What did I do? How did I mess this up? How did I embarrass myself? And those thoughts along with, why are you so stupid? Why did you do that? How could you have done that? Those carry on with you. And that's why when you get home from work at 5 o'clock, all you want to do is eat, because you don't want to deal with those feelings anymore. And a refrigerator full of food or a tub full of cookies, that is going to distract you and not let you think that anymore. And that's what we have to stop doing. We have to stop regretting things we say or things we do. And that goes back to that fear of failure. If you have that cookie, okay, let it go. Because regret is a waste of time and it's a waste of energy. So we've got to stop regretting things. We've got to stop regretting our thoughts, our actions, and the things that we do, because once they're done, we can't change them. We can only move forward. And that's what we have to do. So again, our 3 thoughts that we absolutely have to start to become aware of and start to eliminate from our thought process is our thoughts about living in the past, our thoughts about our fear of failure, and our thoughts of regret. We've got to get rid of those. Those have to go. Now, ultimately, the only relationship that we need to be concerned about, the only relationship that we have to worry about, is the relationship that we have with ourselves. And that relationship involves talk. It involves conversation. with ourselves in our head. And you may be the nicest, and most of the people who have negative self-talk are the nicest people to everybody else. And they absolutely brutalize themselves inside their own head. You have got to learn to be as good of a friend to yourself as you are to every other person in your life. Because I know you all are super kind, super wonderful, generous, caring, and give other people a break. It's time to give yourself a break. It's time for you to love yourself just as much as you love, if not more, than you love other people. So again, that relationship is vital and absolutely 100% the most important relationship we have. So I promised you, what do you need to say when those thoughts come in? What do you need to tell yourself? And the thing you need to tell yourself is that thought comes in your head of, oh, why did you do that? Why do you always do this? Why do you always fail? How could you, the one I say, how could you be so stupid? That one comes all the time. And the thought I have to say to myself is, that is not serving me. And I do not believe that. That is not true. That's what you need to tell yourself. I don't believe it. And that's not true. We have a choice in every single moment of every single day. When those thoughts come into our head, we tell ourselves, nope, not believing it. I'm not believing that thought. It's not true. And that's where that is the most important thing. You need to tell yourself, nope, not buying into it. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. You got to tell your brain, you got to make sure your brain knows who's in charge. And on that note, that is what we're going to talk about next week in the Think Yourself Thin training that I'm doing in the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community. So if you are not a member, would love to have you join. Again, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. And I'd love to see you in the group, and I'd love to see you participate in the training as well. So thank you so very much for joining me today. And again, love to have y'all come into the group. If you are watching in my Facebook Live community, please, I would love for you to give me just a thumbs up in the comments that you are at least going to start paying attention, and not make yourself feel bad and not have there be any guilt, but at least start paying attention to that negative self-talk and start to say, I don't believe that. That's not true. Okay, that's what I want for you. So just a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you can commit to just becoming more aware of that self-talk that you have and really telling yourself, nope, that is not true. I am not believing that. Thank you so very much for joining me today. So happy that you all were able to be here. Have a great weekend. Always am here on Fridays, so have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all soon.